Many arts organisations were built on 20th century funding models, but the 21st century presents us with very different realities. How can leaders remain entrepreneurial whilst ensuring long-term sustainability? Welcome to Leading the Way. Okay, the 21st century. We work every day with the most incredibly entrepreneurial leaders, and yet they are facing headwind after headwind. What is it about those leaders that differentiates them in our sector?
We saw this during the pandemic, didn't we? I mean, there was a small proportion of leaders who looked at crisis and were able to say, what could I do with this? What's the opportunity in this? Now, I don't know what we'd call that, abundance or entrepreneurialism. And man, oh man, all leaders are tired now because we didn't just get through the pandemic. Now we've got macroeconomic, we've got technological disruption, we've got all manner of things that governmental changes in funding. But still, the ones that we can name are the ones that tend to say, yes, there is a way. Yes, we can. We just need to be disciplined, think differently. And what a breath of fresh air those people are to us and to their teams.
It's not having a fear to bury your head in the sand at this moment, because all of this can feel so overwhelming. All the things you just described, Jill, and the cost of business is going up, and am I going to have to face another round of laying off staff, and are we going to have to pull back programming? All of these things that just can feel like so depressing to run these businesses. Yet, as you're describing, we all see them. There are leaders of arts organizations who are saying, I might not know them, but I want to understand where the gaps are, where the cracks in the foundation are, and I'm going to find a way to invest to fix those. Because with the right people, the right rigor, the right understanding of how to get there, I think Toronto Symphony growing, that blog that was out about Milwaukee Symphony, like subscription is up. You can invest in the right ways to think creatively about. I mean, it's a chess game, absolutely. But like, how do you find those? It's an interesting frame, this gap frame.
So during the pandemic, let's talk about some examples.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, we saw examples of people who said, I can't actually be in my building. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go outside and build a tent or do something different. So people are thinking about their buildings in different ways, or they would in Theatre Cluid. Said, we're going to think about our building as a community resource, not just a performance space. That's super entrepreneurial thinking. That's an example.
Well, I think there were organizations that used the really intense previous headwinds to restructure their programming, to actually buy some cover about changes they had been afraid to make before, and to make really important decisions and changes to the direction of their programming, to the structures of their staffs, quite intentionally, right? Their staffs did not come back to the same structure that they had before, but the entrepreneurial leaders took advantage of some of these headwinds to implement big changes that have made it much easier for them to recover, where they have been able to have success in the years immediately following the worst of the pandemic, which now, sure, the headwinds are changing, but the lessons to be learned here are which of the entrepreneurial skills that we just exercised, the muscles, which of them do we need to go back to? Which of them need to be honed? Which of them need to be refined again as we look at this next wave of headwinds facing the sector? And that fear of change is such a big part of it, in terms of being able to identify the leaders who are or aren't afraid of change as being a predictor of where success is going to be. Those who are willing to work with others, to seek outside counsel along the way, to look for new ideas and try things. These are all examples of entrepreneurial behavior? What can I steal from others and apply it here so that I can take advantage of it? This is all entrepreneurial work that happens in every other sector, and somehow, not everyone in our sector has worked this way, but in our point of view, those who have muscled through some of these hard
and
times
have gotten
more
different
effectively.
results.
And have gotten different
like
results.
the ones who opened their buildings or created other performance spaces early, like they had their databases were active at a time when others made a decision maybe to close or took longer. The ones who took the influx of pandemic era resources, cash from government, and said, I'm going to spend some of that. I'm going to invest some of that in my growth. I'm curious if you've seen this. There are some leaders, I would characterize the entrepreneurial leaders as the one who kept and I think this is controversial in our sector, but kept the ability for people to work remotely, who said, I care about your result. I care about your impact. And I am going to ensure that I offer the most flexibility for talented people. That is rarer, and it is absolutely part of this nimbleness that I think is required. I think it's required. Our company is remote. So that's another example. Like that became an adaptation that we all had to adopt, and the ones that are more entrepreneurial aren't just going I need to see you in the hallways, Brad Carlin. I need to see you at your desk to know that you're actually working. They're more flexible.
It extends too to a shift around even goal setting. Like the days of, maybe finance and executive office setting revenue targets for both marketing departments, development, and presenting those versus like, let's craft those together. So an entrepreneurial spirit that says, we're going to collaboratively understand how to grow this business. And you as that marketing or development leader, you know a whole lot more about what's actually going on in the data than I could understand as the ED. I'm not in the day-to-day of it. Let's take that and build together. These don't need to be, we talk about silos a lot in marketing and development, but talk about silos in executive and artistic and CFO land and all. Like, why can't we, a strong leader who doesn't feel challenged by that, but actually rises to say that's exciting to think those ways?
Can we talk about technology a little bit?
Sure.
Because during the pandemic, everybody had to use it, even if it was kind of fugly. And some of it wasn't. Some of it was quite stunning. Technology is a gap. It's a gap in our sector. And I feel like the leaders who are the most aggressive in their thinking are asking us, what should we be investing in technology-wise? What should the threshold be? How can my team be informed by AI? I've had 2 UK leaders go, I need you to tell me, how could AI help optimize my team? I want to hang on to every single one of them. I just want them doing the work that is the most high impact, and I want what I would call the scut work to be managed there. Or I think about websites or other infrastructure. Do you see that?
I do. Yeah, technology is going to be the next headwinds. And yet what's interesting, because it's already in our faces, it's blowing in our faces every day and at quite high speeds with the rate at which things like AI are developing and impacting our sector, not just on the administrative side, but also on the creative side as well, and the experiential side and the artistic side. This made me think about, it kind of goes back to the original prompt here, Stephen, a little bit about what has defined this 21st century mindset.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it has been this entrepreneurial agility. Is kind of how I would think about it. Let's think about it. The 21st century, all the things our sector has been through in just the 21st century, the level of change, 25 years, we're a quarter in, right? All the change, all the headwinds between global pandemics and The rise of websites at the beginning of the 20th century, how many of our clients actually had, really 21st century, how many of them actually had ticket sales online, subscriptions online, donations online?
Right.
All of these are big technological shifts that have had massive changes to our sector's business. And all of this has taken place within this sector, within this century.
Right.
And so we are needing to, this entrepreneurialism and this agility has been the story of the 21st century. And it's about, I think what we're trying to encourage is how to own that.
Yes.
How to hold that up as a badge of honor.
Yes.
The word agility is really, do you remember the TRG 30 we did about learning agility? Or it was one of the exec sessions.
Yes.
And actually the concept of being that these headwinds are actually incredible learning opportunities because they put us right out of our comfort zone. And the people that are willing to push through that, the compound learning effect of going through that is quite substantial. And so I wonder, we've talked a lot about what we saw in the past, and then there are headwinds today. So what do we want to see? What do we want to take from that and apply to the headwinds that we see today? What behaviors, what opportunities are coming from these headwinds now that will have a compound impact when at some point, those winds will change, and they might be different winds. They're bound to be because, quite frankly, they don't stop. But what do we want to see? What do we want to take forwards beyond this looking back?
I really hope, and we've been talking about it a lot, but I really, really, really hope that leaders will use this time to prioritize the people who are funding the arts and culture in their communities. That's the audience and the subscriber and donor and patron, the people. Because that's the most relatable, the most direct control you've got. We cannot control decisions about government investment. We cannot control decisions about corporate investment or foundation investment. But what we can manage and invest in, somebody said we call them expense budgets. If we called them investment or investment budgets, I mean, names matter, words matter. But so that and having the commitment to actually getting everybody on the same page and holding people accountable to that work.
I think it's the people. I agree with you on the external people and the relationships, but for me, it would have been we have got to solidify our strategy and accountability for the people within our teams.
Yeah.
We have got to find ways to support them, to train them, to pay them, to attract them, to retain them. Yeah. Our headcounts may not be as big as they were in 1998. They may not be as big as they were in 2019. And they may not need to be much bigger if we lean into and learn from the technological improvements and really thinking about what is most necessary to be the most effective entrepreneurial business we can be. But my God, we have got to invest in the people. We have got to train them around these tools. We have got to make sure that these jobs, these incredibly rewarding, fulfilling, creative, meaningful jobs in communities are attractive and that folks want to stay in them and that we can compensate them appropriately so that it doesn't feel like you have to, take a pay cut to go work for an arts and cultural organization, or that you have to give up certain kinds of benefits around whether it's healthcare or retirement types of compensation you would get in other roles. Now, that doesn't have to mean we're going to be able to do that with the staff that was 20% bigger we had before the pandemic. But thinking in this way about how are we investing in the people will be such a signal, I think, to me of the organizations who are going to turn the headwinds into tailwinds.
This reminds me, so this was last century, but still I think underscores this point. I worked on a capital campaign. I won't name the organization, new building. We were taking a tour of it after it was built. Beautiful, gleaming, gorgeous. Go down one hallway and there were all of these boxes in one of the hallways. And I said, oh, well, because they'd said they moved in. I said, well, is this area not unpacked yet? And they said, well, yes and no, this is where development is going to sit. And I said, oh, like around the corner in that office space? No, in this hallway. And I said, this is a brand new building. Why is development sitting in a hallway? well, we couldn't ask our donors to pay for administrative space. So all of the space, the money that got raised went to
The building.
the hall
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you're talking about, Brad, this in how radical is it to invest in our staffs and professional development and all of these things that then will have the spillover effect of building greater relationships with these external folks, right? The what sometimes gets called the nonprofit mindset internally, not just externally. How do we make that work?
It's the biggest differentiator between us and the private sector, right? It is in how we think about the compensation and the training and the stewardship and the retention and attraction of talent.
Right.
We think of it actually as a dirty word. We talk about it with guilt and shame.
It's funny.
But it is. But we can't do this. We can't do this anymore. This is what we've got to learn and take from other entrepreneurs who are able to attract talent and retain talent, who are competitive,
In small
who will train you.
businesses.
Small
Like
businesses.
small
I'm not talking about
businesses.
Apple or
Yes,
Amazon, right? I'm talking about
Right.
successful local businesses that care deeply about
Right, but
this.
they're not non-profits. So, that's going to be the reaction to this. And we see it, and we don't just see it in our sector when it comes to non-profit. We see it with the challenge of in other philanthropic organizations, that the idea that that we can't invest anything in administration.
This is part of the system. I was talking to Seth Godin, as you know, recently, and we were talking about systems. And the system in the charitable and nonprofit sector can be the boards and board reaction. It can be the community reaction. It can be the governmental reaction. You're a charity, you must not post a surplus because that means when in fact working capital and having the reserves to manage risk is in fact so. If we translate this to the kinds of leaders that we've seen push back against that successfully, they've said things like Foundation X, could you help us match every dollar over our balanced budget to help us create a working capital reserve? Or I see a team of 50 people or 10 or whatever, and I am going to take an approach that cultivates your talent within my organization. I'm not going to let you leave.
Yeah.
I'm going to find another pathway for you to grow within my organization and not assume. So there are a variety of ways that I think leaders can push against these systems or headwinds, but it takes intestinal fortitude, for sure.
Well, how can we do this really truly if we're facing deficit budgets and the reality that the headwinds right now are causing in our sector? One of the data points that we discussed earlier was the rate of inflation and how pricing is not keeping. There are expense realities. There are potential things on the horizon that might cause even stronger headwinds. How can we have this mindset when we're just trying to make sure that we survive? Because that is the narrative.
Well, it goes back to data. Like, where are the opportunities to grow and fix the cracks in your foundation? And having the discipline, you were talking about this earlier, Brad, like getting those campaigns out and with the right frequency and asking enough. There is the science of reaching out to our customers often enough to make impact. And if that's the most important thing, other things might have to fall away or come off.
I think that's the hardest part here, right? Is there's a teacher I was a beloved teacher who always kind of talked about needing to understand what to hold on to tightly and what to let go of lightly. And our sector's really bad at that. We try to hang on to everything and sometimes everyone along the way.
Yeah.
And we're not yet accustomed to asking the types of really difficult questions that other savvy, sophisticated, agile businesses, regardless of their tax status, are able to ask about the things we need to hang on to or the things we need to let go of. And oftentimes it can start with a question and some really honest reflection about who is this for? Who is this for really? Is this for us? Is this for a particular funder? Do we do this particular program or this particular effort, or do we hang on to this particular relationship? For who? Who is it really for? And let's have a conversation about that so that we can start to unpack a little bit. But oftentimes we try to innovate or be entrepreneurial only by adding and not by taking away. And because that's the scary part, that's the painful part, that's the thing that might get poked at, or oh, they might write an article about us in the paper, and there might be some people who are upset, might get some bad PR around this, right? But there's some bravery there about addition by subtraction, especially in some of these times where we've got deficits, where we just need to say, if we're going to operate like other businesses, and we should, what could be our addition by subtraction?
And how important do you think the board conversation is to this? Because when you ask that question, these things that you're describing, absolutely right. And if I walked into an organization right now and I'm the CEO of, an organization, the first and extensive conversation I'd be having is about the role of the arts today, right now, today. It's a positive community building, crucial role, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, we can agree on that. And so how are we going to show up? And I would be getting alignment and commitment with my board, not the entire community, and maybe just my executive committee on that particular thing, to give me the courage to be able to say, let's talk about how that translates to our staff. Let's talk about how that translates to innovation and what's required and what we need in the next 5 to 10 by 2040, what that means to the relationship I have with my beloved peer in artistic. I'd want that alignment as long as it took.
You know what's funny is we in this sector work so hard with our boards to fill our boards with all of these successful business people and entrepreneurs. That's who we go chasing. That's who we want to bring into our boards all the time. And the second they try to tell us, share their expertise with us about running businesses, many leaders put up walls. But you don't understand our business. You don't understand how we operate. We bring these people in because of their expertise as entrepreneurs and business leaders, and then we don't tap it. We don't regularly.
How could they understand?
How could they understand? They don't understand our business. I just need you to write me checks. I just need you to introduce me to your friends who are going to buy tables at the gala. Don't tell me how to run my business. But we work really hard to bring successful business leaders and entrepreneurs onto our boards.
It's a real trick, though, isn't it? Because I talk often about the infantilization of the sector because boards will come together and then say, we know better. And in fact, now this sector has developed very experienced, and the people that we work with, accomplished and effective entrepreneurs, let's just call them that. And what I want, and I hear you want too, is a combined set of strategy and commitment to the growth, the positive growth of what we're doing together. But I don't want boards to infantilize the CEOs of these companies.
No.
I don't want that.
Well, if you pull down silos and actually were more transparent and direct around what's going on in the business, maybe that wouldn't have to happen, actually, because, perhaps because everything is so overwhelming, or all these things get put in these, like, I'm going to manage the board this way. They're not going to talk to the staff. Don't worry about the board staff. I've got that on you. So you don't have to pay attention or care, because I will do that for you. So all of these different relationships get put in very different boxes, and they never overlap. So
there is no one size fits all here. I mean, we have to acknowledge that. These leaders face very different boards. But the ones, if we think about common themes of leaders who really have the license to do, they have relationships that they're managing really effectively with their boards, whether it's Dean Gladden and LA Theater and the very large board that he spent a lot of time managing, or Vincent Van Vliet in Phoenix that has a very small group of mostly entrepreneurs, but they are aligned. They've got each other's backs.
They're working as peers.
Right.
It's a peer relationship, not a parental relationship.
Right.
And so when you can work with a board as a peer, I think that's a really different, that takes, again, a different mindset. It takes a mindset of a different of a different century.
We heard that
this is where we
in
are.
London at the CEO gathering. The organizations like at Pitlochry, the relationship Chris has with his very engaged and highly committed board and what they do creatively there, and what happens philanthropically in a country where philanthropy is not as ingrained.
Right.
What they're
What allowed
accomplishing
for that
together.
to happen?
What allowed for that to happen?
Well, I think it is the feeling of partnership and being a peer that Chris has with members of the board, where there is a genuine and mutual respect for the expertise on both sides of that relationship, as opposed to what is often the case is a feeling of subordination of the CEO to the board, for whom they just feel like that's who I have to answer to, and that direction can kind of only go one way, right? Comes from the board down. That's really different than collaboration. And so I think where Chris has had success there, it's because he's been able to foster this bi-directional communication and partnership with members of the board that has allowed them to take big risks and to make big decisions about changes in staff structure and capital campaigns and programmatic structure and artistic leadership, taking really big swings because there was because there was this shared, clear vision. Now, is it always kind of kumbaya and I love you, man kind of thing? Like, no, not always. There's friction there. But that to me is the kind of example of where the entrepreneurial leader will be successful in the 21st century. Adapting those relationships.
And entrepreneurial leaders don't always exist in small businesses. Sometimes they can exist in very big businesses. I mean, I think about major American symphony orchestras. These are big organizations. And these leaders lead as peers with their boards. Sometimes the bigger they get, the more bureaucratic. Sometimes it slows results down. And there's a difference between that and entrepreneurialism that it would be interesting to sit at a table with those leaders to say, man, I really work terrifically well with this board and all these committees. But it's this alignment and this peer work, regardless of the size, where it enables the leader to take some risks. And the board is in support strategically, because Stephen's question was, I don't have the money. I don't, like, what? I can't make payroll. Like, I'm struggling to make payroll. And if we're aligned, then the answer might be we have to together find the resources for the technological improvements, just like we find resources for capital campaigns. But we're not asking those questions unless we're thinking differently.
It is interesting about it. One of the things that makes our sector different is that these resources exist.
Yeah.
Like through funders, through other board members, there is people want to support the value of these in our communities, are known and respected and want to be kept around. So to be able to think that way around, it's not just my budget or the world I'm working in, but these other avenues
Especially now.
Yeah.
And we may find
Tap.
Yes. And what's the strange bedfellows? We may find strange bedfellows. I was reading in the whatever paper about the businesses that are benefiting from the current political environment in the United States, where profits are growing. Okay. And so might they? We all believe in our communities. We all want our communities to thrive. And it's rare. I mean, do we ever hear that people say, boy, we could do fine without arts and culture in our community? That'd be fine. No. Employers want it. Community members want it. So thinking, flipping the script.
Yeah.
Flipping the script.
Well, let's look at how we can flip the script. I'm going to present each of you with a challenge, and you will need to flip the script on that challenge. Welcome to Fear Factor, the 20th Century Mindset. Okay, we have our bells already. This round, I'm going to give you a common fear, and I need a strategic counterpoint for each one, and I need 3. So the 3 can come from one each of you, or the 3 can come from one of you, and the one that doesn't answer is out. So you got to get ready with your buzzers, okay? Here we go. First common fear. A price increase will alienate our audiences. It's not ethical to raise prices now. Brad Carlin.
So data shows that audiences and their demand is not as price sensitive as many leaders fear.
Okay, that's one. Next. Eric.
Value is more important than price.
Great. Next. Okay, you got it. You got it. You got it. You got it.
We suck at asking for more. We must ask for more.
Okay, we're all still in. All three of you, fingers on buzzers. Long-range planning is impossible. We can barely keep up with today's issues. Oh, Eric.
Wow. Well, it's because it's important to have a roadmap. You don't have to predict the future, but you have to have something to work for.
Okay, that's one counterpoint. Next, Jill.
This drives me nuts because we think we're so precious in nonprofit. Every sector deals with the need to plan. There are short-term pain. Other industries have it. We've got to have a roadmap.
Okay, great. Brad.
Yes. Yes. We do have to have a roadmap. So I agree with my friends. However, there is risk. It is dangerous to drive without a roadmap. It is dangerous to only be steering your car towards whatever is 10 feet in front of you without looking up at the horizon to see a curve that's coming that you can't anticipate. It's dangerous. It's not just uncomfortable. It is dangerous to operate your business that way.
Okay, bravo. You're all through to the next round.
Yes.
Okay, ready for the next round. Fingers on buzzers. Now is not the time for risks. We don't know what the future will bring. Brad.
We can mitigate risks by taking small steps, small experiments, test and learn, A/B test. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing proposition with a big upheaval when it comes to taking risk.
Great, next. Eric.
No risk, no progress. Organizations who succeed take calculated risks along the way.
Love it. Next.
Yeah.
That's Brad. It was Brad. It was Brad.
Oh my gosh.
The student has become the teacher. So the counterpoint I would offer additionally here is standing still, being afraid of risk, or even worse, trying to move backwards while clear momentum, the ground underneath you is shifting in one way, is dangerous. You will get hurt. Your organization, your business will get hurt. We can't be static in times like that we are in right now.
Joel, you are out of the game.
Those are the saddest bell rings.
Can there be an honorable mention?
Okay, we have 2 rounds left. If you both want to go through to the final round, you both need to answer. Here we go. Subscription models are outdated. People want flexibility, not commitment. Eric.
Thank you. Well, the great thing is the subscription model is evolving, right? So there's different pathways in. And when we look at the data, actually Forbes just had an article about this. The subscription economy is like booming in the United States and abroad. So I'm going to go again.
Whoa.
I didn't actually hear the ding.
I know. Why is that? Brad ruined my bell.
Eric.
Yeah.
Brad, you're just letting this go. You're just letting this. Yep.
I'll even go again. And I'll go again. Well, subscription revenue funds our organizations. So the road to financial stability is having reoccurring revenue.
Okay.
Stop talking, Eric. You're missing the most important counterpoint here, which is about flexibility, my friend. It is about how subscription packages are changing to meet the preferences of our audience members who increasingly value flexibility of when they attend and where they sit over sitting in the exact same seats and coming on the exact same night every time. Both are important, but flexibility is on the rise.
That's not wrong. I'll just say that.
You are both through to the final round.
Boom!
Okay, there's some tense competition here as we go into the final round. Whoever gets the 2 of these 3 strategic counterpoints wins the game. Are you ready? Fingers on buzzers. Jill is the adjudicator. Are you ready?
Yes.
We need to focus on new audiences. Our regulars are already engaged. Eric.
Engaging new audiences is more expensive than getting existing ones.
Great.
So, yeah.
Ho, 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 ho.
we need to be very specific when we talk about new audiences. Not all new audiences are created equal or have the same potential value to the organization. Stop speaking about new audiences with a broad brush. Get very specific with them and who you're trying to go after.
I think Eric.
Jill has decided.
Make it good.
Thank you.
If this is not a good point, he doesn't win.
Fair.
Right? Okay. Make a good point, Eric.
Okay. Getting, God. Oh my God.
For the steal. For the steal. If you are valuing new audiences over existing audiences, you are on a path to financial decline.
Oh, he stole.
He stole.
That was a good one. Yeah.
But a good answer, Brad.
Very good. And so, Brad Carlin is the winner of Fear Factor, the 20th Century Mindset. I don't think we want to play that game again. Let's.
It's kind of bringing out the worst in us.
Thank you for joining us. So to wrap this conversation up, I wonder if you could each describe or summarize the differences between that 20th century and 21st century leader.
A leader, wow. So, I mean, for me, if I had to kind of broadly overgeneralize about an entire sector over an entire century and leaderships within that, there's a challenge there, Mr. Skripek. But if I had to do that, I would say my observation of 20th century mindset was one of preservation, of institutionalism, of preserving the institution, while the mindset of the 21st century has had to be about adaptability, about responding to technology, dealing with external changes, agility, nimbleness, and adapting. And I think more of that, please, as we are facing what we're going to be facing in the 21st century. I mean, would you agree?
Well, to build on that requires investment, right? Not just dollars, but time with staff, with new strategies. So being able to not just roll along with, but capitalize on these changes that come at us so quickly, and the ability to invest to get the most out of it.
I just couldn't agree more. I think about the conversations we had during TRG 30 and about what the infinite game was and where we're really going when we look at 2040. And so I go back to two words we've used a lot in this sector, but I think apply here. To enable us to invest and to think adaptively, we really have to think abundantly. And that's really hard. It's really hard right now. It's really easy to think with a scarcity mindset. I don't have enough staff or money and the 21st century leader mindset will say, I know and I believe. I believe that if I approach this with abundance, I know I can engage in the conversations. My mind will free up because scarcity tightens and abundance enables. So that's how I'd build on it. But I if I had to pick one, it would be this one.
Well, thank you, folks, again, for another great discussion. And thank you for joining us. And we'd love to hear what you think, and we'd love to hear from you. So please be in touch, and we'll see you next time.